working on ZK more because I think we just feel like it's the holy grail of scaling because and we are launching and working on the Polygon ZK EVM testnet. Can I onboard or ask my mother or father to onboard to this? Yeah, I'm Sanket Shah. I head the strategy team at Polygon. The Polygon, I think we are looking at, always keep thinking about how to bring crypto to masses. And when I say that, I mean like how the next 100 million or 500 million users will interact with actual dApps. I don't mean like, just go and trade a token. I think that's pretty much well established and exchanges are doing a good job. But I think our goal we see is to push more for the adoption of this decentralized app. So I think just on picking up on thread on the masses, I think one of the key things where we kind of operate or where our core competency is at the infrastructure level. I think the way we think about it is fundamentally there are two things: scaling and identity is what I think from a Web3 infrastructure to build, let's say, the new decentralized world, you need it. So I think our goal is to focus on that, basically deliver on few things. Last year we mentioned about working on ZK more because I think we just feel like it's the holy grail of scaling because and we are launching and working on the Polygon ZK EVM testnet. So yeah, I think basically just growing that whole ecosystem. And the second thing is more on the Polygon ID part. I think where our goal is where from first of all from a scaling perspective we become sort of a index of all scaling solutions, like because we are working on 5-6 different scaling solutions because it caters to different needs of different developers, and that's how always we approach. Like how there is a customer first approach, we always approach from a developer community first approach. What is it that they want? Because eventually they are the ones who use this technology. And on the ID side, I think we are kind of looking at ways where what is your identity looking like in this new internet. I think right now if you look at it, it's kind of with Googles and Facebooks of the world, but I think right now we are taking more as an infra approach at a protocol level of just seeing of what that identity looks like. So I think let me answer it in two parts. I think one is more on the crypto native side, like just Web3 folks who are doing. I think Laguna Games and Crypto Unicorns is one of the best games that we see. Recently, I think Skyweaver is one of the card trading game. These are like pretty good games in terms of good user experience. On I think the DeFi side, I think there are a bunch of this stuff where I think Lens protocol is what I think is doing. It's kind of creating, think of it as a Twitter for, let's say, Web3. So I think that's one thing where I think it's pretty interesting traction. And I think the way I look at it is what is very good for consumers to onboard. So I think I'm kind of naming some of those projects because these guys have built very good products where I think it's easy. Probably my lens to view at some of this stuff is, can I onboard or ask my mother or father to onboard to this? So I think from that lens, I think those are 2-3 exciting projects that are happening. And more on the other side of things, which I mentioned about, Reddit building their marketplace, and Reddit, I think they have this avatars and there is a marketplace building on Polygon specifically so that, every avatar will have a dedicated identity on Reddit now, or Starbucks building this NFT loyalty program, or Robinhood just getting into this whole crypto in a non-custodial way where they're taking very different routes from what they are known for. So I think those are like pretty exciting stuff that is happening on Polygon right now. I think the approach to building the decentralized social graph so that tomorrow I can use, like I think the ideal world is you don't need like a new social network. You need like your Facebooks of the world to get that social graph and build, let's say, Instagram, which is a photo sharing app. You don't need to recreate Insta. And I think there are reasons why it's centralized, and I think that's one very good thing which Lens does. I just love the approach of how they are doing it. I wouldn't want to call it problems. I think there are more like opportunities where people are not enough focusing on. Like for example, this whole multi-chain or inter-chain messaging, because I think there are too many chains or blockchains kind of building, but not enough people who are talking about, let's say, security or this inter-chain messaging, because these blockchains need to talk to each other at some point. That's one thing. I think secondly, I feel like there is not enough focus being done on the application side of things. I think if you see every few months you have some new blockchains being built, but not enough in terms of just thinking very differently of how the decentralized application looks like. So I would say those are few things where it has to do also because the things are not very mature. I think it's also to do with the state of industry where we are in, where I think people don't understand also. I think a lot of things happened like in the last few years. I think people got in for very different reason into this world, and I think you need to truly believe in, kind of this whole new decentralized world to make some of this stuff work in a very different way. Right now we see a lot of folks, people just replicating things on Web 2 and on Web 3, which is good because it gets things going, but at some point you need like real innovation, because that is what will stick, and those are the use cases I feel that will keep on, getting copied a lot, where I think probably, I don't know what that next Uniswap looks like, or what next Lens looks like. I think we need more of those in that sense, and not enough of it. I think people talk a lot about forking stuff on this stuff. So I think regarding gaming, I think gaming is a very good use case to onboard crypto, and I think that's one of the reasons why we are focusing. I think a good way to look at it is they are mini digital economies. They are basically mini, like everyone has their own token in a sense, and like it has to have a sustainable, fun way of playing. So I think that's one of the major things. I don't think so it's more to do with like play to earn or those things, because I think there is an element which works there, but it's not very sustainable in the long run. I think you need to ensure that there is, first of all, it's fun to play. Because I think what ends up happening is people focus too much on the economics of it and not the actual game fun part of it. And I think eventually I feel like it will reach at a stage where they are like mini digital economies in itself, sustaining by themselves. To be honest, I think whatever I think you want it to be. Let me put it that way. But in its truest sense, I think it's enabling this whole VR and AR kind of world, augmented reality and virtual reality, because I think it has to do with this whole idea of how crypto plays a role in this new internet kind of thing, like this new decentralized world. Because I think there are few things that as a technology, I think you want to ensure that, let's say, because of the way augmented reality and virtual reality is, you don't want it to be too centralized into some, let's say, platform, like how you ended up like see social media becoming like very centralized with few companies, right? I think that is what fundamentally Metaverse enables, because I think it's kind of a form of persistence, living form, because I think if you look at a virtual world, things are moving so much virtually. I think right now people care more about your virtual world than real world, and it has to just do with how people interact digitally. Right now, it's just form of evaluation of how kind of, we have also evolved over time. So I think it has to do fundamentally with around that, and I think it just means it is whatever you want it to be, kind of thing. I think this is something very basic, but not many people do. I would just say use the application, because I think to really understand this new decentralized world, I think it's just so funny, because I meet so many people, including investors and people actually building. It's just so funny, and like they don't even use some of these applications. I think that's kind of the thing that you should do, because only when you, let's say, use a tool like Uniswap, you truly understand why, let's say, banking is probably of past era. And I think it's kind of to do with that insight and just kind of feeling it in hand. It's kind of to do with the difference between like working remotely on a Zoom call versus meeting someone in person kind of thing. You need to experience it to know it. So I think it's part of, and bear markets are truly when some of these products get built. Yeah, and I think it's just you will have a very good first person view when you are in that front seat by using that application.